Here is something that we are all guilty of that is a huge problem in how people communicate. I know this bothers my buddy the Devu more than anybody else in the world. He really hates this, and hopefully he'll get some catharsis out of me bringing this up. But one of the biggest problems is everyone reacts to what they think are social norms while also breaking a bunch of what other people would consider social norms. Let me give you an example. I don't like Oreos that much. Now, there are a lot of people who will be shocked by that statement. How can you not like Oreos that much? I've heard that said to me many times. How can you fucking possibly not like Oreos that much? Because they're so good, and everybody likes them. You don't often meet people who are like, I don't like Oreos that much. Now, how common is my sentiment? Probably fairly common. I mean, Oreos are they're very popular. Most people do like them. I'm willing to bet that there's a decent percentage of the population with no interest in Oreos, and a lot of them probably won't say so. A lot of them probably afraid to seem weird for not liking Oreos. Now, I have people who know me super well who will react that way. People who break most social norms themselves who will react like, you don't like Oreos that much? And I'm like, no, I'm surprised you do, considering that you don't like things that other people like, you know? But then I would do the same thing to a lot of people, you know? I've done it, like, someone tells me, like, they don't like, I don't know, like, ramen noodles or something. I'll be like, what? You don't like ramen? Like, or you've never had it? You know, I'll be like, what? You never, how, you know? We all have them. Everybody. Because there's some stuff that we have just gotten so used to the idea that everybody is interested or likes it, that it's baffling to us that somebody wouldn't. And it's really just, it makes sense that we react that way, because it takes you by surprise. Like, it's something that's a constant in your life, and then you've never questioned it until this one moment, you know? Like, you've never questioned the idea that Oreos are universally beloved until this guy said, I don't like them that much. And then it's like, you've forced me to totally reconsider my worldview. And even though it seems like it should be obvious, right? Like, yeah, obviously there's always going to be someone who doesn't like the thing you like, or hasn't heard of the thing you've heard of, or is learning about it for the first time, because everybody has to have a first time, you know? These are all obvious things. But you cannot broadly apply it to everything in your life successfully. You know, like, it's so difficult to always understand that. Like, imagine if somebody tells you, like, I've never owned a TV in my life. Like, there's plenty of people who have never owned a TV. But have you met one? You know, has anybody brought it up to you in a conversation? Like, for you, it has been a constant. Like, most people who have a TV has been a major part of their life for their whole life. So if you met somebody who never had even seen a TV, you immediately even question your ability to even relate to them. You're like, I've never even thought of the idea that somebody could not have a TV, you know? But then you think about it and you're like, well, I've also never done this other thing that everybody else seems to have done. Like, we all have one. We all have a thing that we either don't like that everybody likes, or that we've never done that everybody else seems to have done. Like, go into a room and poll everybody on A, whether they've seen Star Wars, and B, whether they like Star Wars. And I think you will be shocked to find that there are a lot of fucking people who've never seen Star Wars and don't give a fuck about it. You know? Like, it just seems like it's everywhere. Everyone's seen it. Everyone likes it. I know a lot of people who are like, yeah, I don't know. I've never seen it. It doesn't seem good. You know? Like, I don't care about the genre, or, like, seems really dumb. Like, I've met a lot of people like that, you know? And it's like, huh, well, yeah, you're right. It is dumb and shitty, and who cares, you know? But we all have that knee jerk. I think the knee jerk is understandable, but you got to correct yourself right afterwards. You know, as soon as you have the knee jerk, you got to recognize that you have done something wrong, and then try to not do it. You know, be like, "What? You haven't? You know what? You're right." You also can't punish people too harshly for doing it because it's totally understandable. You know, I know some people who punish harshly for that, not deserved, but whatever. So I tried to use a new writing prompt generator. Like I tried out a third one, and the quality was so vastly lower than the previous two I'd looked at that I rushed back, tail between my legs, like, oh my god, I forgot that writing prompts are usually fucking terrible. It was questions like, what animal would you want to be and why? And I'm like, no. So I ran back to the one I'd been using before. And here's this question, number 27, was, you get to create your very own garden. Will it be a flower garden or a vegetable garden? Maybe you'd prefer a grove of trees instead. Write a descriptive, personal essay about it. I'm not going to do that, but I will talk about one of the most vivid images I think I have in my head from reading a book is from the book The Secret Garden, which I read in middle school. And I don't even remember what the hell the book was about, aside from the sort of details of the setting, because it was set in like my favorite type of setting, and something that I think resonated with me very strongly, and maybe even affected my subconscious, because it definitely relates to what my dreams look like. So the story is about this young girl who I don't remember if like her parents had died or gone on a trip or whatever it was. She had to go live with like her uncle in this enormous manor in the middle of nowhere. So she moves out to this manor, and it's like described as like just this massive house with like a seemingly endless number of rooms. You can never fucking explore the whole thing if you tried. And there's some kind of secret, like there's like a breach in a wall or something, like some access point that if you go through it, it leads into this secret garden that is unbeknownst seemingly to everybody else. But it's just this beautiful, luscious, overgrown garden where I think there was like a sickly boy who lived in the manor who like hung out there and read books or some shit. This is a vaguely remembered review of a book I read when I was in middle school. But and I have not looked at it all since. But clearly the imagery fucking stuck with me, because yeah, the idea of that manor and that secret garden is almost like the embodiment of romanticism in my mind. Because I am all about not only the home, I love giant houses where it's like your house alone is a community unto itself, or like a world unto itself. You can do anything in this house, you know? You can explore it all day. And you live in this place and you're still finding out new things about it, you know? I mean, that's like the glory of a city. For instance, is like getting to go around and explore the city and like find all this stuff. But houses have something similar, especially when you've got a house and there's like a room you never go in, you know? Like in my house right now, I sometimes suddenly realize that we have a garage and we don't use the garage for anything. And then I suddenly feel this powerful sense of mystery. Like, I live with this garage. This is a part of the house that I'm in all day, every day, but I never go in there. Like, whoa. You're like, what could that garage be turned into? What could it be used for? It's such it's a good feeling knowing I've got this. Now, unfortunately, when I think about it, the main reason I don't use a garage for anything is because you can't temperature control a garage, so it's fucking cold. But, you know, it's still romantic to imagine what I could do with that garage space. So you know, it's a giant house, a secret garden, and that's, oh god, secret. So, okay, my dreams fall into, like, three or four basic categories. Like I have all my dreams are recurring dreams. One of them is the dream of moving into a new house. And it's obviously inspired by the fact that I've moved so many times in my life. But whenever I have this dream, it's about being in a new house that we've lived in for like maybe a month and finding out about some secret space in the house. Sometimes this is by way of our house has like an insane number of staircases that just go off into random directions. And like, if you go up this certain staircase, turns out there was another room there. Or sometimes it's like crawl spaces. Like, there was like a secret door in the attic that leads to a second sub-attic rather. And the romanticism of finding this room and deciding that I will use it for some secretive purpose is like the most gratifying moment ever in all of these dreams. Like, I get insanely happy in these dreams when I find this secret place just for me that I can turn into whatever I want it to be, and nobody else will ever find it. You know, like, or they'll just never access it. That is so fucking exciting to me. It's the greatest fucking thing in the world. If I found out, oh my god, fucking on the Dick Show, this was the most glorious thing that's ever been described. I've never been more jealous of anything I've ever heard before. Dick Masterson was crawling under his house. There was like a crawl space that he was going down there to like check on something. And it turned out that it emptied into just a random room. Like, there was just a small room underneath his house led into by a crawl space. God, I had such a fucking huge erection when I heard about that. Like, I can't even, oh my god, like, I wouldn't want to crawl through this crawl space every time to get there, but like, I would probably cut open my floor and fucking put a ladder down into there or something. Like create a hatch door that goes down into that room. Just, oh, so cool. I remember, one of the houses we lived in, there was a sort of like an attic over the garage. It wasn't a finished room over the garage like the ones that I've lived in my previous houses, but there was like an attic space that it didn't have temperature control, so it was always hot as shit up there. And when we first moved in, my dad had a friend who was living up there for like a couple of months. I don't know how the fuck he lived in that environment, but when he left, we turned it into a game room, and we didn't ultimately use it a whole ton, but when we did, man, it was, because it had like one of those ladder staircases, like the fold-out staircases that you climb up, and we go, like, me and Victor would go up there. It was just too small to like quite stand up properly in, you know, but like we had a couple of these gaming chairs and a TV. And I remember we would sit there and listen to like Coheed and Cambria and Rush and play like, Phantasy Star or like Resident Evil 4 and shit up in this attic room. And it was the coolest shit in the world. I think we mostly stopped going up there because it was too fucking hot. But like, yeah, it was just such a neat space to have like this off to the side thing that you forget is even there. And then you go and you use it for some specific purpose. And it's so fucking cool. Yeah, man, every time I have one of those dreams, I wake up like seriously disappointed that it wasn't real. Anyway, that's enough about that. Here's an interesting prompt, mostly for how my answer has changed, because it's number 41 says, write a personal essay about what you would do with your own personal robot. And when I think robot, my mind immediately jumps to sex robot, but I don't need that anymore, because now I've got a fiance, as of the time that this episode comes out. She doesn't know that yet, at the time of this recording, but, I don't need a sex robot, because I have sex all the time. Now, potentially, we could have a sex robot we shared. I think she'd equally be into a cute girl sex robot, but I don't know. If this is like in the present, if this is right now, I'm not ready for that in my relationship just yet, you know? I'm not ready for sex robot yet. In our relationship, but so now I'm thinking of it like, oh, like an actual robot, like one that I'm not just using for perverted reasons. What am I gonna do with my robot? First of all, it's gonna do the dishes. Second of all, it's gonna do the laundry. Third of all, it's gonna keep my house clean. Doesn't even have to be humanoid. Just has to be able to do all these things. It's going to do my accounting. It's going to answer my mail, or at least like keep track of what mail I need to answer. It's going to basically just do anything that I don't want to do, or that May doesn't want to do, or that we're not good at. Like, that's literally what all of technology is for, is keeping track of things that you can't keep track of yourself. You know? Doing things that you cannot do, or that it would be more efficient if you didn't have to do. You know, I think we humans, like, there's lots of like little minor upkeep stuff that we have to do to keep ourselves alive that doesn't really give us anything. Like, I don't know, for some people, their relaxation time might be like when they do the dishes. Like, they take that time to stop and think, you know? But for me, I just dedicate time to that, you know? So it's not something I'm, you know, desperately trying to fit into my busy schedule necessarily. Like, I think people who do that are people who, you know, if you don't have time for thought, because you have to like you only have an hour in your week that is not occupied by work or school or something, and like in that hour you got to do the dishes, and then that becomes your personal reflection time, you know. But I will just make any time that I need personal reflection into my personal reflection time, and ergo doing the dishes is just a task. It has no other benefits to me, you know. So if I had a robot to do that for me, that's just an hour I get back, you know, and I can go reflect in my own way. So, you know, like, while there can be benefits to doing those kinds of chores and doing things that, you know, that are upkeep things, I think I would benefit from having robots to fill in the gaps, you know, and especially to keep track of shit for me. That would be nice. I mean, technically you've got a lot of gadgets that can do this stuff, but there's too much human interface on it. Like if I want to keep a schedule app, I have to like update it, and I have to like write stuff in. I don't want to have to do that. I want a robot to know how to do that for me, or an AI. This is a fascinating one. There's a writing prompt here, number 45. It says, "Here's what sells: sex, money, and articles on how to look your best. Write a splashy article on one of these topics." Rather than that, it's so interesting to think that those are the three things that sell. And I mean, this is being very broad, and I'm sure they didn't like research that, but like sex, money, and looking good. These are like the three pillars of like what people are trying to get in life, right? Sex, let's take this on a metaphorical level, right? Sex is personal satisfaction. It's you want to have sex because it feels good. It is something you can do that is fun and makes you feel better, and you're driven to do it, you know. But like, there's no like a progress element to sex. Like, you're biologically driven to it because you want to have kids, but that's not why you have sex on a day-to-day level. You have sex because it's fun and you want to do it. So consuming media is basically sex, you know, unless you're doing it in service of a project, in which case you're either trying to make yourself look good, i.e. better yourself, or you're trying to do it for, you know, so you can make something out of it, i.e. money. You can tie most things in life into one of these three. So we'll broaden out sex to be personal fulfillment. You know, yes, sex itself is the personal fulfillment that sells the most because it's the most relatable to everybody. Almost everyone has a sex drive. Almost everybody wants to fuck. Not that many people feel personally satisfied from watching anime. but there's a lot of them, so you can make a magazine about that. You can write nonfiction about anime. People will consume it because it is, it's something that makes them feel good in the same way that sex does. Sex Tip Magazine, that's the same thing as an anime recommendation magazine. Both of them are trying to give you tips on how to maximize making yourself feel good. So that's sex. Then you got money. Money is social progress. Money is not as much about yourself. It can be. You make money for two reasons. One is to allow yourself to have sex, and the other is to make yourself look good. It kind of facilitates the other two, You want money so that society... It's basically... How do I put it? Money is power in society. Money is status. Money is how you assure the world you are not fucking up. If you have no money, if you're broke, that is the most frowned upon station in society. That is the station that people have the biggest problem with, as assuming you're living within the law, being a criminal is the most frowned upon. But aside from being a criminal, the worst thing you can be is poor. And the reason that that's the worst thing you can be is that if you're poor, you're not having as much sex. Because it takes more work for you to survive. It takes more of your time for you to survive. There's less things that you can do. So you're trapped having less sex. Both metaphorically and literally, because fewer people are going to want to fuck you if you can't do anything fun with them, So, yeah, being poor means you have less sex, so less personal satisfaction. And also you don't look as good, because everybody puts so much value on it, Because you can't make them sex. Hopefully this is all holding together. This metaphor's holding up for you. So that's money. Then you've got looking good. And this is just you wanting to be satisfied that other people are appreciating the sex and money you're having. Your outward face, you want to show everybody, look, I too am good and have fun and am doing life correctly. The most successful people are beautiful because you can afford to be beautiful, or you need to be beautiful to afford, okay, if you want to have the best sex, you got to be the best looking. Not only because being more physically fit will mean you can have better sex, but it'll also attract more physically fit partners for the most part, So, you want two beautiful people to have the best sex. If you're not beautiful, it's going to be harder for you to have good sex, You're also going to make less money because seeing you doesn't make people think about sex as much. Seeing you has to be pleasant so that other people want to have sex with you. You catch my drift? We're talking about this in broad terms. We're not talking literally here, but we are also talking literally. So, you need these three things. These are the three pillars of life. Everything you do is in service of either trying to have more sex, metaphorically speaking, make more money, literally speaking, or make yourself look good, figuratively and literally speaking. I don't know if there's anything else that you put effort towards in life, like doing the dishes. You don't work towards that. You're not going to sell me a magazine about doing the dishes. It's just something everybody has to do. There's no goals involved, Your goals in life are for sex, money, and a perfect body. I think that's true for most people. It's definitely true for me.